have Sanjeev. You can ask Jeevers. And he is all about Proze that helps with your sleep. He's got one product that is amazing. And then we've got Nicole with us. Hi. Welcome, Jeevers.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I wanted to really go over the nods because it's National Sleep Day, right? What a perfect time to go over it. But I wanted to share my personal story first before he went into all the amazing things and benefits for it. So I tried the nods like about a week ago, and I did it for about 5 days. Yes, 5 days. And so what I noticed is that I was not needing coffee in the morning, which was what I used to have to do. I would wake up, you go to bed at 10:30, and I wake up at like 6:30 or whatever, and I needed coffee. You're like, oh my gosh, let me just get the coffee in. So after I would take the nods, I actually had a better, cleaner sleep. But I woke up and I was like wide awake, like when I was like a teenager, which didn't feel normal to me. I'm like, something's wrong. But it was not. Why do I feel like that? I'm like, what's happening here?
I'm not supposed to feel this great.
I don't need my coffee. I don't need my coffee. And so then I ended up getting drinking coffee, and then I was like jacked up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. But it's because I was at my natural state when I woke up in the morning. So, which is kind of cool, because now, all of us moms, we don't need to depend on something. And it was such a, I felt like it was a really cool blessing because it really helped me to get a clean sleep. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any hangover, like when you take melatonin or any of this other stuff. And I actually gave it to my daughter too, and she actually loved it too. So it's been great. So there's my experience, and now we can hear from Jeevers.
Yeah, well, yeah, I love that you use the word clean sleep, because that's what sleep should be, right? It should be this amazing experience that's restorative, that provides great repair and energy, essentially. Like I talked about something the other day where I said, there was this company that had a sleep product and it had a wake up product, right? And I thought to myself, like, why do you even have a wake up product? Because if you have a really great sleep product, it should drive this amazing energy so that you could naturally wake up and have all this kind of amazing vibrance throughout the day, right? That's the purpose of sleep, right? And there's kind of two purposes of sleep. One is to provide this recovery, reparative time in which, your body never gets that time during the day. Right? So during the day, there's no recovery that's taking place, right? Basically, you're just trying to keep up with this kind of breakdown, okay, right? And making sure that it doesn't get to such a debt that you're unable to, or that it creates some sort of vulnerability, right?
Makes
Sickness,
sense.
illness, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, is that, okay, now the body has the ability to repair and recover, so it's going to turn off all these voluntary systems, it's going to turn on these involuntary systems, it's going to change its hormonal balance, and it's going to do all of these things to promote recovery. And then because of that, you are now getting this element of energy, of the essence of energy.
I had a lot of energy.
And that's what you should have. And so it's interesting that you said earlier about how, wow, I thought something was wrong with me, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, maybe I did it wrong.
That's right. You said, hey, listen, I'm not sure this is, I'm sensitive to things. You started with this whole, like, something must be wrong because I'm waking up wired.
Like this.
Right?
Wow, I'm ready for the day.
That's exactly. But the weird thing is that the reason why you felt not normal is because you forgot what normal is.
Right? That's the truth.
Boom. Yeah.
Boom, there's normal.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Mind blown.
Thank you for the sound effect. That's awesome. And so, yeah, that's what, and this kind of leads into the philosophy of nods, okay, right? So there's a lot of products out there that promote sleep, right? Like you mentioned, melatonin, and there's pharmaceuticals that promote a sedative type of thing. Everything from, NyQuil to some of these other Benadryl, these Ambien, you have all of these things, okay, right? And so those products are a little bit different, or a lot different than what you're really trying to do, which is to promote sleep. Those are sedatives, Okay, right? So sedatives are like what I say is a light coma. That's not really sleep.
Right.
There's not the sleep cycles of sleep. There's not the enzymatic and hormonal kind of changes that happen. That's just basically saying what we're going to do is we're going to sedate you to such a degree that you then go to sleep. Okay, right?
Yeah.
But here is the missing piece of that, right? Is that you can't force your body into sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for many times we feel like we have done that. That's what they've done to us.
That's exactly
You feel like you don't have a choice either.
Yes.
Right.
It's like I need to get to sleep.
You need to. Okay, great. That's exactly where people's suffering goes to. Is it goes to this point of like, hey, I just need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. So then what they do is they design something to force you into this sedative state. It's not sleep. It looks like sleep, it smells like sleep, it walks like sleep, and it may to a certain degree feel like sleep, but it's not sleep.
Yeah.
You're just sedated, okay,
Yeah.
right? So now the question becomes is, all right, so what can you actually do?
Right.
Well, just like I said earlier, you can't force your body into sleep, just as you can't force your body into energy, right? Because sure, you can make it look like energy, you can make it sound like energy, you can make it, but that's not energy. That's just a stimulant that is stimulating your nervous system, which then creates this appearance of energy, okay, right? And so now the question becomes, okay, well, what can you do then? Right. Well, you have to understand that sleep is a metabolic process, that is an innate process that's going to happen. It's going to happen. It may be difficult for you. You might have, created an entire kind of misalignment and all that sort of stuff, but it's going to happen, right? People that say, oh my gosh, I can't sleep, I can't sleep, I can't sleep. I'll tell you what, I'll keep you up for 3 solid days. And outside of you having that one genetic condition, right? You will go to sleep. So it might take you 3 days of being awake, but you will, okay, right? And that's an important thing to understand, because you need to understand that it's an innate process, that your body is going to go to sleep. Right. It's just that you might have disturbed a bunch of different things, okay, right? Well, the number one thing that you've disturbed is the ability to be in a deep state of rest and relaxation.
Yes.
Okay? And that state and that environment allows you to then go into this metabolic activity of sleep. So that's really at the core. The core is, oh my gosh, I need to allow my body to have this environment.
Yeah.
Now the question becomes, what is disturbing that environment? So through our research and through our work, I believe that there's 3 main things that are disturbing that environment. The first thing is, number one, any sound effects or anything?
Number one.
Okay, thank you. Finally, geez, like I'm on cue there. Huh? Number one is that inflammation. Yeah. And we hear about this all the time. Inflammation. Inflammation is the petri dish of all disease and illness. Right. Okay, right? But here's the thing is there's different types of inflammation, and that's what people don't realize, is that depending on where the source of that inflammation is, you're going to have a certain type of process. So if I hit you on the arm, okay, right, that's going to produce a different type of inflammation than if you were to eat sugar and carbohydrates, which then raise your blood sugar or glucose levels, which, hey, we all do, okay, right? And therefore raising your insulin and creating a certain type of inflammation, because the body obviously doesn't want sugar in the bloodstream. It doesn't want the amount of sugar that we usually consume in the blood. Okay, right? Well, what happens most of the time for individuals at nighttime is that they will consume
ice cream, Baskin Robbins shows up here not because of me, but because of my husband.
Yeah.
He goes to sleep though. That's
Right.
the crazy thing.
Yeah, and then you're
Friday night,
stuck
like-
with it. Yeah, the truck is here, and you're like, okay, well, I'll go help. Yeah, right. And so, well, that's, there's two things. One, people have a tendency to eat a lot of those types of foods at nighttime. And secondly, why do they do it? They do it for the same reason I do, is because, you're working all day, you're crazy hectic, it's wild, you just need some bliss. Like you just,
that's true.
yeah,
Just a warm hug and chocolate.
that is completely right. Is that you need something that provides you this kind of bliss and wonderfulness, and you could do it by running 5 miles, or you could do it by eating this, ice cream. And usually I choose the ice cream because there's 4.5 miles where it's a great deal of suffering before you feel any bliss. Okay, right?
Yeah, that is true.
So you have this behavior that causes you to do these things, and that inflammation is going to disturb that state of rest and relaxation because of what that inflammation does to the nervous system. Okay, right? So that's one, right? Then there's number two. Thank you. Nice work. Really getting good at this. Number two is that, as I was saying earlier, is that we have this kind of hectic, crazy 911 emergency lifestyle, which is, termed as a fight or flight lifestyle, right? And we turn on the nervous system that is responsible for that fight or flight, which is your sympathetic nervous system, okay, right? Which is a nervous system that is not supposed to be turned on for the length and the intensity that we turn it on for throughout the day. And the reason why it's not supposed to be turned on for that long, outside of the hormonal issues and things like that, is it's not easy to tone it down.
No.
Right?
Yes. Right. That's exactly right.
So here we are, we go to 9:30 p.m., 10 p.m. or whatever time that you go to bed. If it was socially acceptable, I'd go to bed at 8, by the way. But anyways, is that
Me too.
yeah. But then some people are like, well, dude, you really went to bed at 8? Like you don't have anything? I'm like, yeah. But is that all of a sudden you want to turn it off at 9:30 because you want to get to bed by 10 or whatever. Well, unfortunately, that nervous system, it doesn't turn off that quickly.
Yeah.
And more importantly, not only does it not turn off that quickly, but it doesn't, there's another nervous system, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that opposes the sympathetic nervous system, that doesn't turn on that quickly. And so you need one that's turning off, one that's turning on. Well, that's not an easy thing to do within 30 minutes, especially when you've turned on the one that is so highly intense. It's different if it was the reverse. It's different if you just went from calm to alertness. That was the whole, oh my gosh, I'm just walking in the jungle, all is cool. There's a lion, I'll go. Okay, right. The body is made to make sure that that sympathetic turns on faster. Okay, right? So therefore, you're going to need to, you got that second thing to deal with. Okay, you've got the wrong nervous system turned on, right? And then the third thing is, Three is that you have to have the right brain signals. You have to have the right nutrients that allow your body to know that it's time for sleep. And at the very end of the day, how your body runs is through messages, right?
Yes.
These messages are hormones and neurotransmitters. If you were void of hormones and neurotransmitters, you wouldn't have the messages to tell your body to do anything.
Right.
These particular hormones and messages that are the brain signals to tell your body that it's time to go to sleep, they're very vulnerable to toxicity. They're very vulnerable to breakdown. And we live this fight or flight again. We are toxic. We have all the, and these things break down these nutrients. So a lot of individuals do not have the amount that is needed to be able to signal the body that it's time to go to sleep.
Right.
So these three things then combine to then not allow you to get into this deep state of rest and relaxation. And that is the reason why you can't get into this metabolic process of sleep. So see, this is a philosophy that a lot of people don't necessarily, maybe they don't know, they definitely don't formulate to, they don't, and that's why I think why individuals have had such an amazing experience with our products and a very comprehensive feeling with our products, if that's the right word, is because I'm not here to put you to sleep.
Right.
I'm here to deal with these root issues that are going on, which then disturbs one of the things, which is this state, which then causes this action to happen. Yeah. So, and I don't know what your issue is, but one maybe one more than another, but I'm going to attack all three of those areas and therefore give you the most, as you said, cleanest sleep because you're in the best environment for that.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing, that's why I wanted to have him come, is because I, as you know, I'm always all about like sharing what I know works. And I can't believe how quickly it worked. I was like, this is weird. Literally, like yesterday, I told Nicole, I'm like, I'm so jacked up. I drank coffee and I took that stuff. I don't know, because I had so much energy, but I didn't even need to drink the coffee because I woke up naturally with I woke up and I was like wide awake and I'm like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And it was just amazing. And I really, and we've used a lot of his products through the last couple of weeks. And I have to tell you, like, every single one, like, is like tried and true and amazing. And I love to try things out, but I also, if I don't believe it works, I'm out.
Well, you showed me all those products that you had when I came, and you said, hey, Lizzie, it was my first day here, and she brought out this kind of like tray of all of these similar type of products, similar type of ingredient products. And I think that, you know, the unique thing about Proze is that we're not about our ingredients.
Right.
We're very much about our philosophy. And our ingredients are just mere vehicles to deliver our philosophy. And I think that's a little bit unique than other brands or other companies because, you know, they're looking at an ingredient and saying, oh, how wonderful this ingredient may be or what it may do, or it may be like the hot topic of today. And so let me kind of put that together when, you know, being I'm a formulator. You know, I didn't start off in the industry as being a brand owner or selling products or whatever. I've been formulating supplements for, 18 years. Right. And so I've always been on that end. So when I went to develop our products, you know, the ingredients were never that important for me. The philosophy was what I really understood. And then I went there and searched for the different types of ingredients that would help to deliver that. And so that's like for ours, you know, we use 90 different phytomedicinals. We use, you know, some people may say, well, why would you know, our Nods product, you know, it has cinnamon and cinnamon bark and basil and bergamot and valerian, melatonin, GABA, while other products may have just melatonin and CBD, let's just say, okay, right? Well, that philosophy must be, that philosophy must be, okay, I'm going to calm you with the CBD to a certain degree, and then melatonin, I'm going to give you a greater sensitivity to darkness, because that's what that formula is, okay, right? That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
And
then
that's
when it wears off, you wake up, and you're wide awake, which is even worse.
Or you feel hungover.
Well, this is interesting. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because this is what you wanted to talk about as well, too, about these cortisol levels, right? And you just mentioned about something that happens a lot with, I'm not trying to pick on this products that are formulated like this, but like this melatonin hangover, right? And it's because you got to be really careful messing around with your hormones. Yeah. Okay, right? You got to be really careful with messing around your neurotransmitters and things like that, because the body is in this, once it's in this really wonderful rhythm, which is this circadian rhythm, okay, right? It really has the most beautiful processes that are happening that are going to give you the experience that you want, okay, right? And when you start fidgeting with those things and you start messing with the timing, you're going to start producing an effect that isn't necessarily what should be. So let's take a look at this melatonin hangover, okay, right? The melatonin hangover happens because there's two specific hormones that are really at play during this kind of sleep-wake cycle. One is melatonin and the other one is cortisol, okay, right? So melatonin is there specifically to signal the initial processes for you to go to sleep, to ignite the other sleep processes, okay, right? And melatonin's role is that a lot of people don't know this. They think it's the sleep hormone. It's not the sleep hormone. It's the darkness hormone, okay, right? So evolutionary, right? When it was time for you to repair and recover and sleep, it was nighttime, okay, right? So as your eyes begin to sense darkness, it then signaled the body that it was time for you to sleep. Right. Well, the first signal is this melatonin, this release of melatonin. And so when all of a sudden the body then released melatonin, it said, okay, time to now start all of the other processes for you to begin the sleep process, if you will, okay, right? So that's why it's the darkness hormone. Yeah. It's not the sleep hormone, it's just there to create the sensitivity to darkness, okay, right? Now, melatonin is elevated in 2 times, okay, right? Once, about 90 minutes to 2 hours before it's time to go to bed, because it's preparing you to get real sensitive to this darkness, okay, right? And then the second time, about 30 minutes before you get into REM sleep, which is the latter part of sleep, okay, right? So those are the 2 times that it's elevated. You don't want it elevated any other time than that, okay, right? Because it is there to, remember, sight off the sleep process, okay, right? So when all of a sudden you overload the system with melatonin and you're producing melatonin, okay, right? Now you've thrown it off balance. So now all of a sudden, let's just say, you know, it's 7 a.m., your alarm goes off, and it's time for you to wake up because you've got to go do something. But the body has too much melatonin. So
still trying to initiate.
Yeah, it's saying, no, I'm not supposed to be up here. Just because your boss told you that it's time to wake up doesn't mean that you told yourself that it was time to wake up. So then all of a sudden you wake up because you're forced to, because of the loud sound of the alarm or whatever, and you feel groggy, you feel tired, you feel all this. Well, because the body's saying, listen, you elevated my levels of melatonin, and because you elevated my levels of melatonin, you also did not send the signal to release cortisol, which cortisol, as we know, is the stress hormone, but it's not a bad thing. It can make you fat if you are, or the wrong body composition, as we like to say. Yeah, tummies and thighs and hips and, you know, love handles and stuff. But, you know, when it's time for you to wake up, your melatonin is at the basement level. It's down, which then signals, remember, they're all signals. Everything works together, okay, right? Yeah. So all of a sudden, melatonin's down, so cortisol increases. So it knows, okay, it's time for me to increase. So when it's time for me to increase, that's what wakes you up. So you want...
So that's what the jump was.
Yeah, you want to have high levels of cortisol, because if you don't wake up.
Well, that's interesting, though, because they're always talking about keeping your cortisol levels down.
Yeah, during the day, but like you need to wake up, okay, right? And so therefore your cortisol levels should be spiking when you wake up, because if you don't, then you won't wake up. And that's why when people, you know, have issues with, you know, waking up, they feel groggy, they'll test their cortisol levels, because they're trying to say, hey, listen, do you have enough cortisol in the system to wake up? Yeah. You may not.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
right?
Makes sense.
And so you want that fight or flight to where, you know, like, oh, okay, I'm repaired, I'm recovered, I got my REM sleep, I got my stage 3 sleep, I got my 1-2 going on. Okay, now I'm done. It's time to get up. It's time to go. Yeah. And so what makes you go is your cortisol. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's so fascinating. So that would kind of explain why, like, when it's darker at night, or even when, you know, when what is it, winter, when it's darker to get up in the morning, it's harder to get up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a snoozer. I'm not an alarm. I don't use an alarm.
Yeah.
I use the sun to wake me up. So it's harder for me to wake up during, when it's like 7 and it's darker.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the environment, remember with sleep, there's three kind of things going on. There's a behavioral component, there's an environmental component, and there's a physiological component, okay, right? And so what I just talked about with nods and inflammation stuff, that's a lot of the physiological, right? And then there's the environmental, which is, like you said, darkness, temperature, being kind of, in an environment that's not cluttered, it's all that. And then there's the behavioral component, which is the, a lot of people just have a lot of stuff going on. They're not calming themselves like psychologically. They're not kind of doing those things that would allow them to feel like they've got the confidence that they can sleep. This is a term I use a lot about sleep confidence. People, the number one thing that's happened is that they've lost sleep confidence, right? Is that they just feel like, you'll talk to someone and you'll say, gosh, how's your sleep? My sleep's terrible, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, oh, I just can't sleep. I can't sleep. I just can't sleep. And what they've essentially done is they've lost complete confidence that they can actually sleep. So the first thing that I always tell them, I'm like, no, dude, you can sleep. You might have made it really hard for yourself.
Right.
And it might take you a little bit longer to get back, but that's an innate process, right? It's not like being like, oh, I can't hit a free throw. Like, that's not, you can. You're not that good of a player. Like, I mean, that's not an innate process. You know what I mean, right?
But it's true. Well, you're right. It's about like the mind, like going, oh, I can't sleep, but it's really about shifting.
Completely.
And this product totally gave, I mean, honestly, I would have to, like I was telling him, like when I would use it, like I love to read books at night before I go to bed. Just whatever. I love information. And so when I took the product, I was like, I don't even have it in me to like read that book. I don't even want it. I want to go to sleep. Like, I just want to relax, which was kind of cool because I was like, but it wasn't, it was like you know what? I just don't want to read that book. I'm going to just lay here and I'm going to be asleep in 5 minutes. And that's exactly what happened. And then I woke up and I'm like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Read the book then.
Which was great, but it was really cool because I used to have to read like mundane stuff. I had, to fall asleep. Not have to, but to shut my brain off. And so I would read the stupid magazines or whatever, and it would help me fall asleep. But I don't even have to do any of that. Which it was really cool. And now knowing that it's such a clean sleep, I think it's super important, and I think that everybody needs to have it.
Well, I just wanted to add, because I kind of love that you said the sleep confidence thing, because I think that's important with any sort of aspect of your life, whether you can't sleep. And it's, when we first met too, we talked about giving people hope, because a lot of the time you might not know about the natural products in the world. You go see a doctor and you think, oh, well, I have to have a sleep medication to get to sleep. But with the sleep confidence thing, if you're like, oh, I can't sleep, you're manifesting that. So you already think before you even try to relax, well, I'm not going to sleep tonight. And you stress about that, and then that keeps you up. So this kind of brings in like a whole new hope of like positivity, but also just know it's like, you can make changes in your life. It's not one, or I have to take medication, or I'm just broken. It's like, no, you have to feed yourself these nutrients that are out there for you that you might just not know about, and it will make a big difference in your life. You have to be positive about it. Like, I can sleep, and I will sleep tonight.
You're right. That is a really key point you bring up. Like, that's the number one thing. Okay, right? Like if you don't want something to work, no matter what it is, it's going to be very difficult for that whatever to work, okay, right? Even when it's a pharmaceutical, they've got this term nocebo, right? And so placebo is that, I want it to work, and it ends up working even though it wasn't anything that should work, right? And then there's the nocebo effect, which is that it doesn't work even though that it should work, okay, right? So this even happens with pharmaceuticals, which are incredibly, incredibly powerful, right? Well, knowing that nutritionals are not as powerful in that way, if you don't want it to work, it's not going to work. So the number one thing you have to do is what you said, is that, no, I do have the sleep confidence. I know that my body wants to sleep. It just is disturbed, and it needs to get back into balance. So oftentimes I'm super excited and thankful when people say, wow, it really worked for me the first day. But every once in a while, somebody will say, listen, you know, I'm an insomniac, and I've been an insomniac for years and years, and I've been on Ambien for, you know, years and years. And I took the nods, and it didn't really do anything for me the first couple days. I actually just had this happen. Somebody said that they took the product and nods, and that the only thing that they felt was they just felt calm and rested. They felt that. They didn't necessarily feel sleep and say, right? And I was like, yeah, I was like, okay, right? I got you to at least some starting point or whatever. Yeah. But I totally get that they're like, hey, listen, I really need to get off this thing, right? But look at all of the work that you've put in to disturb yourself.
Oh.
Okay, right?
Yeah, all day long.
So look at it as something that is a for lack of, you know, is a sleep supplement, meaning that it's just a great nutritional set, a great set of nutrients during nighttime. Why don't you look at nods that way? For you right now, let's just take the anxiety and the pressure and such off you, that is okay, right? And just, let's just say, you know, this is just my multivitamin that I take at nighttime. Because that's how you need to take a look at it, because we need to build you back up to a state of alignment. Yeah. And that may take a little bit of time. So I don't want you to get into your head like, oh, it's not working for me, so therefore I'm not going to do it. I totally get why you would do that, because you've been suffering for so long. Right. And even I would want to find a solution when I've been suffering as long. Yeah. But sometimes I have to say to myself, okay, this is going to be a process for me. But I'm going to have the confidence that it is going to work, that I know that my body, once it's back into alignment, that it's going to do this. And so I'll give it the time and the patience and the intensity to work through that, you know?
Time is so important too, because I think when you go from like being used to taking Ambien and you're not used to like even taking any, like a multivitamin or whatever, people aren't used to like, oh, I need to give this time to work. They're just so used to like, I want it done now.
Yes.
That's not.
Oh, yeah, because we're instant gratification. Because, I mean, we don't even, I mean, what? We can DoorDash. I mean, we DoorDash Baskin Robbins the whole Sunday. We can do whatever we want. We DoorDash everywhere. But, I mean, we're all instant gratification. And we have not, like, I mean, we're older than you. And we had to learn patience, right? Especially you growing up in Michigan and me in Indiana. You had to have patience. So I think part of that in your system, it's all about instant gratification. And you have to take a step back and go, well, how did I get here? I didn't get here overnight, right? I mean, these people didn't get sleep problems because it was overnight. It was because, you know, it was just building up on each other, and you just add more and more and more to your to-do list. And then you think you're superwoman, and you're really not. And then your cape's like falling all over everywhere.
Right, yeah, you're tripping over
it.
it.
Forget it, whatever. Sorry. But I mean, you know what I mean? You can't do it. And I think us as moms, we try to do that. And so I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit or grace to say, hey, let's just slow down, and let's just, you know, including myself, right? I have to backtrack to go, okay, let's just see how this started, and then let's start there and do it slowly, right? I was so grateful that his worked fast.
Yeah, and you know, so I've obviously been in kind of this intense nutritional wellness field for a long time, you know, right? And one of the things that I've learned personally that helps me, you know, and drives kind of the reason why I do as much research and I'm super passionate about it, is the plight of suffering, is the plight of, I get it, why people want things to work very quickly. Right. Because on one hand, no question, we are a society of instant gratification, right? But then on the other hand as well, is that these individuals have been suffering from this issue for so long, you know, right? And even I can say with myself and with my life and such, is that whenever I've been through something for so long, I just wanted to stop. You know, I just wanted to stop. Like, come on, man. Like this is killing me here, you know, right? And so, and it's tough to kind of get that mindset, even though I know this, and I know it's a process, and I know that I should be patient, and I know that it took me so long to get to this space, and it's not going to be, but I've got this element of like, man, just give me something, because I don't have any, you know, and And so anyways, but I think that like, that's why I like being in this field, is because, you know, for those individuals that do want to give me that patience and that grace, as you said, I will respect that by building the absolute best, you know, product with the right formulation or with the right philosophy, you know, right? And the best philosophy that I know, you know what I mean, right? And I think, like you mentioned, that's why all of the products have been such great benefit, is because, you know, I feel like their philosophy is right on target, and it can help a lot of people, you know, because they're dealing with those issues, I feel.
Well, that is so, all of that is so amazing that you have so much, like now you can see kind of the heart behind all of the products and why it does work. But I wanted to, because I don't want to forget to have you, but you said this the last time we met, I want people to thrive, not survive. So that's where you really built this off of. And that's so strong. So did I say it right?
Yeah, oh, you said it perfectly.
So he made these products because he wants us to thrive in life, not to survive, because basically that's what we're doing now, is we're trying to survive and get through stuff and take the Ambien or whatever it is to get the quick fix, but it's really not. So he's created products for long term, right? So for us to serve, you know, for us to thrive in life, because listen, I'm 45 and I still want to thrive, man. I don't want to survive no more.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I think that's the one of the unfortunates about some people's lives, is what you just said, is that they're just doing things to just get through the day. Like, oh, let me just get through the day. Let me just get through this time. Let me get through this episode. Let me get through this night. Let me get through this. And I get why they're doing that, but they deserve to be able to do more. They deserve to be able to accomplish more. You know, at the very end of the day, you know, I hope that people are not, you know, resting and saying, okay, well, at least I got through these 80 years, you know, at least I got through these 70 years or whatever it is, you know, right? I want them to be like, man, you know what? Man, I packed up a lot of stuff in these 80 years. I did my 80, you know. And then the microcosm is the year, it's the month, it's the week, it's the day, it's you know. I want you to say, man, you know, gosh, I packed a lot of stuff in that hour, you know, like I didn't even realize I could do all that. And so that was the premise, or that is thank you for bringing this up, is that was the premise of Proze. Proze was, as we said, you know, everyone deserves to be a professional at what you do and who you are. That is the essence of it, right? And so, hence the name, hence the colors, hence the branding, hence the messages. We're just very much into those people, and that kind of attitude, you know, and that's the community that we're creating, you know.